Here I have my 2006 Honda CRF450R. It's been converted for a street legal Supermoto. I have a complete build thread on the Supermoto Junkie forum. If you go to supermotojunkie.com, I believe it's under CRF450 project. That should give you some results if you do a little searching. Not sure what to talk about first. I guess start towards the front of the bike. I've got a KTM 690 SMC headlight setup, which uses a H4 bulb. I wanted to use that for a little better light output and to open up the ability to use a HID bulb in the future. I have one for it, but I'm not currently running it yet. I'm running the Cherby's black plastics, except for the number panels, with the Hart & Huntington graphics. Also the SDG step seat. On the front, I had to shave down the graphic a little bit to fit on the Cherby's Supermoto front fender. For wheels, I'm running the Marcassini Supermoto wheels. The front is a 3.5 by 17. It makes getting a tire for it very easy, considering it takes a normal street bike, sport bike front tire. And the rear is a 5 by 17. And I'm running Michelin Pilot tires, the Pilot Powers. The gas tank has been painted a black with a rainbow effect metal flake in it. It was that way when I got it, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not. Surprisingly, it's held up a lot better than I would have expected. Normally I wouldn't recommend painting a plastic gas tank because the gas fumes that will come through it will lift your paint and eventually bubble. I've got a EBC front rotor. This is a 320mm oversized rotor kit for Supermoto use. Running the SME sliders. I've got the zip tie red anodized axle nut. Another thing I want to point out while I'm in this area is I modified this bolt to hold a magnet for my speedometer sensor pickup, but I really didn't like where it put the pickup for the speedometer, so instead I mounted this magnet in the button for the rotor, and now when it sweeps through, where you can see where my pickup is here, it's on the upside of the caliper relocation bracket, and it puts it a little further out of harm's way as opposed to mounting it a little lower. Minor change. I'm running the original Honda caliper. Have plans to upgrade that down the road, but for now it's painted black and it's doing alright. I've got a Hell front brake line. It's stainless with a smoked cover. Also the light speed carbon fiber fork guards and the upper fork wraps. Running the Metal Militia Pro Taper bars. And I'm using the oversized Pro Taper bar mounts with the original triple trees, which I had powder coated a gloss black here and down here. The forks have been powder coated a satin black on the upper tubes, and on the lower axle carriers down here was also done a satin black. And back up here I'm using the Pro Taper throttle tube with the bearing. And here you can see my brake light switch for the front brake. Also up in this area, I'm using the original Honda Master cylinder, nothing fancy. I did rework the brake lever a little bit. As far as the shape, some sanding, some filing, and wanted to mimic the clutch lever shape a little better, and then I had a powder coated satin black. Here is the braided sleeving for my brake switch. I put that on over the wire just to protect it a little. I'm running the Cycra Pro Bend handguards with the DX shields, and I had the mounts and the bars powder coated satin black. I've got the Rockstar grips by Pro Taper, and here is the easy clutch setup that I have. It's made by RCS. It's a very light pull. It's got a bearing in the pivot, and it comes anodized black. This is a K&S switch housing, which does all of the functions all in one switch. It's got a kill switch function, a little trigger, a light switch, and high and low beam, turn signal, horn. I also added, for security purposes, a key switch up in here. And see if you can see that a little bit better. I'm having trouble seeing the LCD screen here because it's a little bright out. I made this bracket to hold it out of stainless and then had it powder coated satin black. It's an OEM Honda key switch that came off a 400EX four-wheeler that I used to own. I've got LED turn signals in the front, which originally were too short to stick out past the shroud for the headlight, and I made some spacers here to space them out a little bit so that you can see them from the front of the bike. I really liked the shape of them and how small they were and how bright they were, so those were the ones I decided on, and then after the fact I found that they were just too short to be fully visible, so I pushed them out a little further. My frame was powder coated a metallic graphite gray, and the subframe as well. A little hard to get a picture of that, most of it's enclosed. The swing arm was also powder coated a metallic graphite gray, and you probably noticed that it's not the original Honda swing arm. This came off a 2007 Aprilia RXV 550. It quite honestly wasn't a very easy fit. Some custom machining had to be used to fit it. I'll see if I can get a few pictures here. This spacer was made for the wheel spacing. And inside here, I can't tell if I'm using that or not, but the sprocket spacers were made to align the spacer, or the rotor, to the caliper. And over on this side, I also made this spacer. And the sprocket had to be spaced off the hub a very slight amount, maybe a millimeter. Up in here, at the front of the swing arm, I don't think I can see that a little bit had to be shaved off the spacer on each side for that to fit. And there's the Aprilia embossing still on the swing arm. I'm in this area. I guess the shock spring was also powder coated a graphite gray. And the shock linkage was done in a ceramic silver. It's hard to get that to show up. It's a little reflective anyways. I'm running a Golfer rear rotor with the original Aprilia brake setup. That's the caliper and the pads. It comes with a braided brake line, and I'm using the Aprilia master cylinder. Down here I've got the Fastway pegs with the sliders. I've got a Hammerhead Designs rear brake pedal, and the pedal pivots to minimize damage in the event of a crash. I had the brake pivot bolt powder coated, just the head, and also the head of the swing arm pivot bolt, just to make things a little cleaner. And I'm using the Hammerhead Designs brake return spring in clevis.